I started my entrepreneurial journey back in 2018. At the time, I was still in the system, working jobs, clocking in and out, doing what I had to do like most people to get by. I worked at so many different jobs: finance, retirement services, credit cards, construction, white collar jobs, car dealerships, moving companies, even in the fields. Yes, I worked in the fields. Whatever I needed to do to make money based on the circumstances I found myself in at the time, but I always wanted out. Deep down, I knew that wasn't going to be my path forever. I always told myself I will not work a regular job for the rest of my life. So, mid 2018, I started my entrepreneurial journey. I got into e commerce first. I did Shopify dropshipping with AliExpress and even high ticket items. This was way popular back in the day. I gave it a year. And while I did manage to make a little bit of money, I wasn't able to make it very profitable. After a year of trying it, I quit that business model. Looking back now, if I had stuck with it a little longer, I may have figured out how to make millions like many of the gurus you see today, because I was actually early. Despite that, at the time, I thought it was super late and saturated. But well, I didn't know everything I know today about business. Then around 2020, in the middle of the pandemic, I pivoted into social media marketing. I was always a fan of Tai Lopez, so I bought his SMMA course. It was actually super valuable. That's when I really started grinding, cold calling every day. If you scroll through this YouTube channel, you'll find tons of videos of me cold calling businesses, trying to get clients, and covering social media marketing. I got a few wins. I started making some money. That, along with other projects I was working on, gave me the flexibility to travel. So I left the US and went to live in Mexico for a little while. I lived in Playa del Carmen and later in Cancun. I spent a few years there, and honestly, I had a great time. Lots of partying, going out, and getting to know the country and its people. I was immersed in the culture, learning, growing, and evolving. Mexico was great, and I consider it my second home now. If there's something I've learned, it's that things always take a little longer than you think. Most people don't win overnight, they do after years of showing up. Show up, do your best, and call it a day. I always live by that. Doing SMMA while living in Mexico was great. I had a lot of fun, and I definitely partied and dated a lot of girls there. But at the same time, putting the weight of someone else's success on my back was starting to take a toll on me. SMMA is a lot of work. Handling marketing, writing copy, analyzing the business model, the target market, creating landing pages, running ads, and even sometimes taking some of the closing myself. I needed to make sure the business owner got results from my work just to ensure they kept paying me. It became a daunting task. The profit margins weren't even as high as I would have liked them to be. I felt a ton of responsibility just to make $2,000 or $3,000 per month in my pocket after all expenses. And I wasn't doing what I really felt I was here to do. I had winners and I had losers. I was doing good work and making an impact, but deep down, I wasn't building something that was mine. I was building other people's businesses for them, and the compensation was not at par with the value I was bringing, at least not to me. Luckily, I never stopped learning. I spent years studying how the world really works: geopolitics, power structures, economics, the left, the right, all of it. I always studied different business models, primarily online ones, because I never liked to stay attached to one place. I wanted to understand the status quo and the financial matrix so I could eventually break free from it. I always studied established systems, and that's why I wrote this book under another pen name, talking about everything I came to learn about the world we live in. I am very proud of this book. This book shows how to start building wealth from nothing. It is designed to teach you how to leave poverty from poverty. I expose how the financial system is operated by the world's elite, which fights to keep the status quo, where wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few, while the majority of people are on their own. But more importantly, I teach the many different ways to leave this system. Because the ones to push hard enough can get out, it is possible. So, around 2022, just because I was interested in the topic, I wrote my very first book, How to Text Women, which up to this day is still selling on Amazon and Audible consistently, and I've kept growing it since then. What's crazy is that it was my very first book that I wrote myself, and it's the best seller so far. I learned on my own how to have very good text game with women, get them on dates, and have a rotation. I saw what many men were doing wrong, and I put it in my own words, everything that I knew about it. I never thought I'd become a writer. It kind of just happened. I thought my path would be in SMMA, helping companies grow through social media marketing, maybe even make more with it and keep scaling. I imagined I'd become one of those six-figure agency guys, managing clients, scaling brands, running ads all day. But what I've always wanted, what's always burned inside me, is to share ideas, to speak on systems, power, the truth about how the world works, to go deep into the dynamics between men and women, to talk about the things most people are afraid to even say out loud. If I was able to get out of the financial matrix and live on my own, I want to help people do the same. So now I can call myself that, an author, a writer. I really enjoy writing and presenting ideas. I enjoyed writing this right now. Because writing lets me do what I've always wanted, take everything I've learned, and still learning, and give it structure. Present it, share it, use it to help other people. Right now I operate under two different brands, two different pen names. My main one is Jesse Tyler, where it's focused on female nature, dating, and relationships. I always wanted to help men understand the current landscape and have dating on their terms because it is rough for men out there. But I also have another brand, Michael Woods. That's where I zoom out and talk about the world at large, systems, economics, power structures, and how to make money from scratch in this new reality we're living in. Now I know that you've probably been working in some sort of job or side hustle and you haven't seen results yet. I wanted to tell you, it took me way longer than I expected to actually leave the system for good and live off the fruits of my labor alone. I started trying in 2018, and it wasn't until 2023 that I finally had my last job. That was the year I was fully out. No more bosses, no more clocking in. I was finally living off my own work. That's 6 years, but only about 2 years writing. A lot of people get very impatient because after a month of trying a new venture, they haven't achieved what they expected. I want to tell you that things take time. There is a lot of talk about speed, speed, speed. And yeah, it is important, but what can you really build in a month that will continue paying you for years to come? If you are going to be working the rest of your life on a project, who gives a fuck how long it takes? For me, it took only 2 years to achieve financial independence from writing. And I say financial independence, which my definition of it is not about having a lot of money, being rich, or having tons of wealth. Financial independence is basically the following to me. It's a state where a person has sufficient financial resources to live life on their own terms. That's it. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. It's a situation where financial constraints no longer dictate your life choices, and you make decisions based on preference rather than necessity. For me, I was always able to rent nice apartments and have enough to live the life that I want. I am very minimalistic in nature because I realized early that the less you spend on your personal life, the more you can bet into something else. Having unrealistic expectations makes people jump from one venture to another with no real results and stuck in that loop for years. Everything that I've been working on has been worth it so far because now I find myself in a position that most people only dream of. I can travel. I can live where I want, which right now is my home country of Argentina, which I love to live here. I go to sleep whenever I want, wake up whenever I want, and manage my time on my terms. There's no alarm clock, no boss, no commute, just me, my time, and my responsibilities. And as long as I show up, as long as I put inputs in the machine, do what needs to be done, I know I'll be all right. I know the money will come as long as I keep adapting to the big changes that are coming in the world. Even people who are making 6 figures would love to have this lifestyle. You have to find something that I call the state of flow. What I mean with that is, you know where you are, you know where you're going, and you're constantly moving in that direction. You're not in a state of limbo, where every day passes and nothing happens. You're actively moving toward your goals and aspirations with a clear sense of direction and purpose, even if you're not right now where you want to be. Essentially, it's about being in a state of progress. In contrast, not being in flow often means feeling stagnant or stuck, lacking a clear sense of direction or purpose. You don't know where you are or where you're going in life. You're just passing through time. You're lost. You don't know what's going on. you're in the same endless loop, feeling stuck, not advancing toward anything. And this leaves you with feelings of frustration, dissatisfaction, emptiness, and even confusion about what you're doing with your life and where you're heading. A lot of people live this way. Now more than ever, with how fast the market is changing and how AI is replacing millions of people's jobs, you have to learn to create systems. If you don't adapt, you'll get wiped out. But for the ones who do adapt, there's a lot of opportunity. The people who don't will suffer. That's just how it is. So if you're still clocking in, still grinding, still stuck in a cycle that doesn't feel like it's yours, I get it. I was there. But you can get out as long as you start doing the things that actually move the needle. There are a series of actions and inputs you could do over the next few months that would dramatically change where you're standing. And if you keep stacking those moves, if you stay consistent over a few years, you can do a full 180 on your life. You're just not doing those things right now, either because you don't know them or you're just not acting. That's the difference. So figure it out. Lock in. Start doing the shit that actually matters, and don't stop. A few right moves consistently can buy you your freedom. And once you taste that, you'll never go back. It will take whatever it needs to take.